Good morning and welcome to Coffee Ann, the longest-running panel discussion show in American radio. To make a comment or ask a question of the panel, call 401-766-1240 or email coffee@woonsocketradio.com. And now, let's join the Coffee Ann panel.
And a good morning to you. It is Coffee and time here on ON Radio as the snow is falling on this Thursday morning, February 6th. I'm Joe Callahan. That's Bob Lauder right over there. Hello, Bob.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Nice to have you here with us. And Sue Tester-McKenzie, who's normally with us on a Thursday, cannot make it in today, which is too bad. But we hope to see Sue next week. But we are going to be joined at 8:30 by Liz Kerrigan. She's with she's Parks and Rec here in the city of Woonsocket. She'll be talking about ironically, the Easter egg hunt that's coming up in April. All right, so we'll talk to Liz about that. Dave's
Sounds encouraging. Great.
Dave's going to pop in when he can as well. And so what's funny, Bob, is it started out just like this in 1978. We had a little bit of snow on that February 6th. And I can still remember my sixth grade teacher, Mr. Davidson.
Sixth grade.
Sixth grade. Said, don't worry, this is going to be nothing. He said that at about 7:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
2 hours later, we're going home.
He didn't listen to Off the Cataract.
No, he said this is nothing.
I remember the blizzard of 78.
I think he listened to Don Kent up in Boston.
Yeah, poor Don Kent.
Who got it all wrong. So.
He didn't get it all wrong. He didn't understand the flooding thing. He didn't get the timing right. He didn't get the timing right. He was fooled by some other things that we was looking at.
You weren't in school, Bob, in '78?
I was working in 1978.
Well, so was I.
Sure.
On my sixth grade spelling test and things like that.
No, I was working as a lawyer in 1978.
Okay, well.
Yes, I remember it well.
All right. Yeah, I do too.
I was working in a mill too. I mean, but Arthur, I saw his forecast years later because people kept ribbing him about it. Oh, dusting of snow, huh? I said, no. Were you listening? No, and nobody thought it was going to be a dusting of snow. But Don didn't realize that was Don Kent you're talking about, because I was a pen pal of Don's, because I liked weather, and I used to hang around with these people and talk to them about weather forecasting and everything. Just something I liked when I was in school, and I continued it on a little bit later on. And there's a lot of information that comes in that you have to interpret. And Don felt really bad because homes were destroyed on the North Shore. The sea backed into the communities and stuff. He didn't predict that. And because he was so concerned about the fact that the storm was so large and it was going to be snow, a whole lot more snow in the mountains and a little bit less snow. And the difference between where you're near the ocean and out in the hills, everyone knows around here who's grown up around here, that's the big difference when you get snowfalls, right? To the north and west of Boston, you get a lot more snow. To the northwest of Woonsocket, you get more snow than you get here. We're getting 2 to 4 today, Joe.
Okay, I'm not
inches,
I am not concerned.
2 to 4 inches of ice and of sleet and snow mix.
All right, I'm not concerned about it.
And then, but on top of that, the freezing rain is going to cake up on things. 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch. That puts thousands of pounds of stress on cables, wires, and stuff like that are outside.
All right. So, Bob, you want to...
I can see you're not interested. That's okay.
That's all right.
Well, I want to talk about something else that you were talking about earlier today.
Oh, what was
because it was on the broadcast this morning, and it was either on the Christopher Minute or that segment that you have just before the Christopher Minute where they're talking about unusual news events.
Bob and Shepard, yeah.
Okay. And there was the little guy who was inspired by Spider-Man. And that was where they were talking about an elderly woman who had fallen in her home. She'd left her key in the door so it couldn't be opened from the outside. Her daughter came to the house and wanted to rescue her. And the little 7-year-old kid from next door was able to put his hand through the mail slot and release the key. And he did it because he was inspired by Spider-Man. And that was so cool.
Well, good for the little boy.
Yeah.
that was able to do that.
Everyone needs inspiration in
And
their
he was
lives.
able to... yeah, I can see it. Small hands, slender arms, slender wrists, up and in.
Yeah,
And,
but you know you
can-do
want to be
attitude
like
is the first
Spider-Man and be
requisite.
able to save the day, and the little guy was able to do it. That's great.
They told another story similar to that, where the host of the show and his wife were in a hotel, I think it was in Thailand, but I'm not positive on that. Not that it matters. But somehow, because of the way the hotel works there, they both got locked into the bathroom
Right.
and couldn't get out.
Yeah.
All right.
And so they called. They had their cell phones with them.
Right.
They called down and said, "We can't get out. We need someone to come up and unlock the bathroom door from the outside." And when they came up to the hotel room, the door was locked and they couldn't get in. I don't know why they don't have a master key, but they couldn't get in. So I said, "Well, now what do we do?" Well, they were on the third floor, by the way, and so they went down and they found an 18-year-old busboy who was rather slender and slim, and he scaled the outside of the building to get in onto their balcony, and got in that way and was able to let them out. But they were calling that kid Spider-Man because he was scaling the wall.
Fantastic.
It's amazing what some people can do. We got to go find someone nimble and acrobatic to take care of those kind of things.
And in that second case, to be brave enough to go
And
up this
brave enough.
outside of the building.
Yep. Oh yeah, no problem. Just start scaling.
Wow.
All right. I don't know how much money you have, Bob, but can I borrow some?
$9.40.
Because the Trinity Brew House in downtown Providence is for sale.
Okay.
Right across the street from the what used to be the Providence Civic Center. You know
Now
what I'm
the
talking
Mika
about?
building.
Yes.
Yep.
You know what?
Okay.
You know the Trinity Brew House.
I know
is?
where it is.
Okay. Well, it's for sale, and they only want $2.5 million. I thought it would. I
Okay.
actually thought it would be more. When I heard Dave read the
Really?
story this morning, I did. I thought
was
I
shocked
go,
at the price.
No, I said they're going to want $4 to $5 million for that.
Now, does that include the real estate it's located in, or is this just buying the restaurant and the goodwill that the restaurant has raised?
I don't know if you get the land.
Okay.
I know it's on the other. I thought they shared the building with the Trinity Rep. They're on the other side of it.
All right.
But maybe there's a small separation of the two buildings. I don't know. Not that there's a lot of land there, Bob.
Well, at my age, it's probably not the wisest thing to go into a
Not-
new venture
you
in
don't
which
want a big
you
investment
don't
like
have a
that?
whole lot of knowledge, and also which costs about $4.5 million more than I have in the piggy bank today.
Well, okay. Just didn't want to know if you were looking for in a new investment.
A new investment.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. We had shots
I thought
fired.
going into radio is my new investment.
We had shots fired and a suspect arrested here in Woonsocket.
Oh?
Yeah. They were looking for Woonsocket police looking for a vehicle in connection with shots fired. That happened earlier this week. The officers spotted the vehicle they were looking for. They tried to stop it, but the suspect allegedly fled into a wooded area where they ran and got him.
Where were the shots fired?
He's charged with destruction and fleeing. His name was not released. They don't give us the names of the streets in this
Well, it's
particular
part of
story.
the investigation, but it's easy to imagine, without the information, that they put in those gunshot detectors in Borden Boulevard neighborhood. So it's easy to imagine that might have had something to do with it, would you say?
Yes. So there you go. But they got him.
Wow.
They got the person. So we're happy about that. Bob,
Between the
any-
flock cameras and the sensors,
Yeah.
wow! I mean, these are some pretty good tools we've given our police department, and they're using them.
Great. I mean, that's why they're there. Well, we're lucky we're not down in Providence, and because we don't have to deal with the Providence representative that was arrested over the weekend for drunk driving. Did you see that take place?
Yes, I did.
Enrique Sanchez, 3 a.m, stopped on the Providence Cranston line, stopped at a green light. I saw the body cam footage from the police officer, and he looked drunk. And okay, so no word yet on whether or not he's going to resign, but sometimes they do in this case. He probably pled not guilty. You have to, right?
Now, I saw an article on yesterday's Woonsocket called Pawtucket Times.
Yeah.
And it had the interviews with 4 people, and it was asking about Super Bowl parties.
Yes.
And none of the people they interviewed said they were going to have a big Super Bowl party. But I have your address, and I understand that you don't want to have anybody just walking in off the street and asking questions during the game.
Right.
So I figured if I came down to your house with a 6-pack, you'd let me in, and I can ask questions during the game as to what's going on.
Tell you what, you ask my wife the questions and let her answer them.
Yeah, but she doesn't have the expertise that you do, man. She
No,
doesn't have the background.
she does because she's had 33 years of watching football, and she's gained quite a bit of knowledge over those 33 years of watching and asking questions.
Okay.
Over these 33 years, but not during the Super Bowl, of course.
Yeah, but you don't have the same bromance that you do with another guy asking questions at the Super Bowl.
Right.
And so I figured, you'd help me through this.
Well, what are you bringing for snacks
Oh,
besides beer?
I hadn't thought of the snacks part.
Bring a pizza with you too. Will you?
Now, I did see that President Trump is planning on attending the game.
Yeah.
Now, do you think he knows everything about it? Or if President Trump were sitting in the room with you, would you be answering his questions?
No, I'm sure he's pretty well up to date on how the game works and how it's played and like that. He's a golfer, and he's friends with Bob Kraft, who owns the Patriots, and he's been to many Patriots games. So, yeah, he knows.
He knows.
He knows what's
Okay.
going on. So,
All right.
who he's rooting for, that I don't know, and
Well, I would hope he's smart enough to say he's not going to be rooting
I'm not
for
rooting
either
for anybody.
time. And,
I just want a good game, and we'll
Right.
congratulate the winners and say, good job, team. Nice to be the president where you could just say, oh, I feel like going. I mean, I could say I feel like going. Could I go?
and they'll
Well,
probably
it's
give
what a
him
process for me.
probably
to-
give him the
Probably
luxury
said,
seats,
betcha I
too."
could get tickets.
He's not going to be sitting out there in the stands, five
No.
rows back.
He'll be sitting in
A box.
the good box.
the good seats. Probably the owner of the New Orleans Saints, where the game is being played. He's going to probably be in his box, along with a few. But now and they've already said New Orleans is going to be the most safest city in the United States. Will be New Orleans this coming Sunday. I forget who said that. Someone at the federal level. But is it safe or not? Because you're just going to see helicopters flying overhead all the time. There's going to be drones. There's going to be people with machine guns on every street. Do you feel safe with that or not?
Not really, but okay.
But they're there to look out for anything bad that may or may not happen. So
Well, I'll ask you then about the commercial I've seen on TV where I think it's Vios is talking about, you see the helicopters coming in, and they're advertising that the Super Bowl is going to be played in various stadiums. How is that working out?
I don't understand. Super Bowl's played in one stadium.
It sounded like they were going to be broadcasting it.
Okay. All right. Like for the Kansas City Chiefs fans and the Philadelphia Eagles fans. So back in those cities, depending on the weather, sometimes fans like to go to their home stadiums and
Okay.
watch the game there on their big
On
screens
the big screen in the
Okay,
stadium.
maybe that's
at the
what they're
stadium,
doing.
and then when something good happens for their team,
Right.
20,000 people,
They
let's
don't
say,
keep it
show
to
up,
themselves,
all
Bob.
cheer, and so
Okay.
they're all happy with what's happening there. So they may be doing that. And I guess Verizon is providing the fiber optics or whatever to make this happen.
It's pretty sad when you don't recall who the product is, but I do recall in the commercial they have the helicopters coming in over various cities and people looking up and saying what's going on. And then they seem to be advertising they're going to be broadcasting the game itself at stadiums. So you're
Okay.
probably right.
That sounds about right. But boy, Kansas City and Philadelphia, pretty chilly. They're both outdoor stadiums, and I don't know why people would want to do that. Maybe it's a younger person who would want to do that, but it's going to be cold out in both stadiums for those fans.
It's the Super Bowl.
'cause
You'll
it's-
find some guy who wants
Oh,
to get
no.
nuts.
Oh yeah, and the game's going to be at night. It's not during. There's no sunshine either, so it's going to be even colder in both stadiums. And Philly may even get snow, Dave. So
Alrighty.
yeah. So, but
I know
people
we'll
love
be,
people
we'll be
love doing
seeing our
that.
share of snow.
Yeah, we in McCoy Stadium and Polo Park, they will do the same thing after the baseball game is played out. If something exciting is happening with the Boston Red Sox and there's I don't know, maybe 2 innings left to go, they'll put the game up on the big screen there, and people you're invited to stick around and just watch the rest of the game. It's I don't know, tied in the 8th inning or something like that, and so but they do it for a reason and the same thing Kansas City, Philadelphia, the concession stands are going to be open. and you'll be able to buy beer, and you'll be able to buy burgers and hot dogs. So, I mean, it's a money making venture,
Okay.
and you're probably not coming into those stadiums for free. Maybe they are. I'm not positive on that.
No.
But much less priced. Maybe $10 to show up, as opposed to $110. I don't know what they would charge to come into those stadiums just to watch the game.
How much does it cost
I've seen
to
hundreds
watch?
of dollars just for a watch party. That's
All right.
what they call them, a watch party.
Yeah, watch party. How much?
How much does it cost to go to a Worcester Red Sox game?
Well, it depends on where you sit. It can be as low as $10. It could be as high as $40, I think.
Oh, all right.
Depending on
Okay.
where you want to sit. All right, we're going to take our first break here in the Coffee and program, and more coming your way.
We'll be drawing in a few minutes for another Milk Fun
Milk Fun
calendar.
Yeah, great. And more Coffee Hands coming up. And you can call in comments and questions at 766-1240.
Kung Hei Fat Choi is Chinese New Year greeting from the House of Chan. Yes, Chinese New Year is, of course, a multi-day celebration, especially at Chan's. Tomorrow night, entertainment at Chan's, egg rolls and jazz. Well, you get your egg rolls and The King. Showtime, 8 p.m. for Elvis. It's the Viva Las Elvis tour with Dan Fontaine and the Memphis Sun Mafia Band tomorrow night, February 7th, New England's premier Elvis Presley tribute band. Then on Saturday night, the Love Dogs with special guest Ricky King Russell, guitar and vocals, overflowing with horns, good humor, and swinging rhythms. Showtime, 8 p.m. at Chan's, the Love Dogs, Saturday night. Just $25 at the door, but $20 in advance. And they have great food, too, at Chan's, 267 Main Street in Woonsocket.
Ever feel like everything in life is moving at hyper speed? Slow things down with the all-new Nissan Murano, an unapologetic refuge amidst the daily hustle and bustle. Re-energize with massaging, leather-appointed seats to melt away the tension of a busy day. Escape into your favorite music with a Bose premium sound system, or set the vibe with ambient mood lighting, because sometimes the greatest rush is not rushing at all. Check out the all-new Nissan Murano at nissanusa.com. Panoramic moonroof, ambient lighting, and massaging leather-appointed seats are optional features.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex saline nasal spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultrafine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
The Coffee and Panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee Roasters. All their coffee is roasted right here in Rhode Island. Down East Coffee Roasters is available at all Little General stores.
WOON Woonsocket Radio, ON, AM, and FM.
Have you heard of Scott McGee with RE/MAX Properties? He's been selling real estate in Rhode Island and Massachusetts for the last 17 years, and you can see that he loves what he does. Scott, as well as his team, take pride in what they call the fair and honest team. No gimmicks. And no, they're not buying your house if it doesn't sell, etc. Just fair and honest real estate. Scott personally works with tons of sellers and buyers and specializes in residential properties as well as commercial. And he's always very fair and offers super competitive rates. Remember, this is probably the biggest move in dollars that you will ever spend or receive. You want to go with a trusted and experienced agent. Scott is fair, honest, and modest, always puts the clients first. And he also dealt with literally almost any situation. You really need to look at your real estate needs as a business. You want to pay and get the right money now so that you're not paying for it later. Trust me. So why not give Scott McGee a call at 401-639-2906. That's 401-639-2906.
All righty, it is Coffee and here on ON, AM, and FM. Thanks for joining us. I'm Joe Callahan. Bob Lauder is here.
I'm Dave
Richards is here. And this portion of the Coffee and program is sponsored by the Blackstone Valley Call-In Times.
Roll the tape.
You've heard it before. The world is getting smaller. Places you had to travel to years ago now seem right next door. It's no surprise, then, that all the communities of the Blackstone Valley have so much in common these days that we share common interests. Keeping up with this trend, the Blackstone Valley's two daily newspapers, The Call and The Times, have joined forces to cover the entire valley in one convenient newspaper. The Blackstone Valley's Call and Times, a paper for the entire valley. At your local store, honor box, or home delivery, 767-8522.
Coffee Ann on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us. And let's see what else is going on. It only took them 13 months, Bob. But those pallet shelters down in Providence are finally going to open next week.
Maybe.
After the storm. And you know what we're talking about?
I know what you're talking
those
about.
After 2 storms.
Those little log cabin, one-person occupancy thing. Wow. 13 months to get this thing up and running. Echo Village is what it's called. There are 45 single-occupant shelters. They're on Victor Street, and they open up on Tuesday, February the 11th.
Because you had all these people who wanted to help. They came up with this idea. Well, let's try this out over here. So people, that sounds like a good idea. Let's do it like that. And then it said, wait. The fire inspector comes over and says, oh, no, we don't have anything in here for pallet shelters. Closest thing is...
Dorms, right? Dorms and hotels?
No, hotels, right.
Okay.
So you need a big sprinkler system, and you need this, and you need that, and these little huts.
Mm-hmm.
And they tried their best to reason with them, but they said, well, no, this is the fire code, and nobody's going to die on my watch. Okay, fine, I get it. That's important, and thank you for taking your job so seriously, but people are freezing to death. Can we find some common ground here? So, nope. And they're millions of dollars over budget.
Yeah, 1.3.
Because they had to go in and change the heating system. They had to
And
put in escape hatches.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a one-room, one-person hut, and you had to have a second means of egress.
Well, I think you're putting a lot of blame upon the people who are enforcing the regulation.
Right.
You may have considered the opportunity to amend the regulation, to bring it before the city council or whoever initially proposed it.
I think they're doing that now.
They're doing, but the city couldn't do that because it's a state fire code, and they didn't get it in time. They hadn't exhausted all other efforts by the time the General Assembly recessed for the year last year in 24. So now the General Assembly's not around, but they've already introduced legislation to give them their own separate kind of fire code thing.
Yeah.
But of course they haven't met and they haven't passed it yet.
Well, I think you have to look at the fact that if somebody had arbitrarily said we're not going to follow the fire code on these particular regulations, and there had been some type of disaster, there would be lots of recrimination back to the individual who had arbitrarily said,
sure,
we won't require this conformance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. But I've often said, good human judgment and common sense is required in government, and it's the one that's in the shortest supply.
Well,
if somebody just closes their eyes and says, well, this is what it says over here, then they're not using human judgment, gift from God.
Because it's obviously not a hotel.
Right.
So why are we using that?
If there is no other standard, and that's the one that has been imposed by the legislature,
then why can't the fire marshal come up with one?
He may be able to, but does he have the authority to make the change in the regulations?
Well, I don't know.
You know.
I don't know.
You seem exasperated. Okay.
I know. Well, it's finally going to open, and we'll see what goes forward. So, after over 7 years, and it seems longer, that 114-foot barge that's been sitting at the bottom of the Providence River.
Right.
I just get used to seeing it.
It's sitting in a parking
I've seen
lot
it for
now.
a long time.
I know. Well, they finally got it out of the water.
Did you see the rest of that story, Joe? They have it on public display, inviting the public to come by and see it.
And what? And take pictures?
What?
like it's a tourist attraction?
Right. And by the way, according to the news story that I read on the air this morning from our news service, it's on a street called Public Street.
Yeah, well, you can it's at the Public Street access point.
Okay.
So, yeah. So it sank there in October of 2017. There was a big nor'easter at that time, and it just sat in the river.
Was it blocking any navigation in the river, or was it just a
Well,
unpleasant?
they just went around it.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I'm sure it was a
wide
pain.
enough at the time.
Yeah.
It was a navigational hazard that was navigated around.
But why did it take so long to remove it out of the river?
Maybe it was
Money.
because of the cost of actually doing
Who's
this.
going to pay for it? Well, the person that owns the barge.
How about the
should
one that
do
owns
it.
the
person that
barge?
owns the right, the person that owns the barge. I ain't doing it. I can't afford to do
But it's
that.
yours.
You kidding me?
Don't you have
So
insurance?
let's go to the insurance company. The insurance company says, I ain't doing it.
Insurance
Natural
company
disaster
said,
like
may
that.
have said
Okay.
it's not a.
Remember, insurance companies only make money if they deny claims.
It's an act of God because it sunk during a storm.
No, the insurance company has said that's not one of the provisions that you included in the policy.
So if
you
we'd
didn't
been-
hire us to indemnify you or if this occurred
If we'd been hit by another ship, then okay.
under the terms of the policy, whatever
Yeah.
those particular ones are.
Well, it's finally out, and you can go down there to Public Street there in Providence, Bob, and take a selfie with it. Meet you and the barge.
Me and the barge. Okay. You know, there are better things in my life to try and take a selfie with.
It just reminds me, I'm looking in. This is going on in Massachusetts that I've been looking into, and one of the provisions was, and they asked me, "Are you legally married to your wife?" And I said, "Yes, I am." Marriage certificate and everything? Yes. They said, "Okay, you can't have what I was looking for because I'm legally married." Now, if I was divorced, then I could have gotten what I was actually looking for. I know I'm being pretty vague here because I just don't want to go into the details. But I just thought it was so bizarre. It's back to the insurance thing. If you were hit by somebody, well, then we'd pay for it. But since you weren't hit and it sank anyway, we're not paying for it. Oh, you want this thing? You can't have it because you're married.
Well,
if you were divorced, you could have it.
Okay, going back to the barge issue.
All right.
The insurance company makes a contract with the person who they're insuring. The contract says, we will indemnify you in the event that certain events take place. The person who's being insured says, okay, based on that contract and your agreement on those particular indemnities, I will pay you X number of dollars a year for my premium.
Right.
But the insurance company can very well say, we're not going to include in the contract certain provisions that would make us more liable for a number of reasons. One, your premium would increase, and secondly, we consider the liability to be so great that we're not going to do it. We're not going to insure you for this particular occurrence.
I get it. I understand. When I bought life insurance, and it's spelled out precisely. If one of the partners commits suicide, we're not paying you anything.
Could be, because insurance companies on life insurance, in making their judgments as to what they're going to indemnify for, look at your age, they look at your health conditions, they calculate whether or not it's likely that you're going to die within a particular period of time, the term of the policy, and then they'll say, okay, if you do die during this period of time and it's by natural causes, fine, we will pay off X number of dollars. But they would consider suicide to be something that would be
unnatural,
be more in control of the insured. The insured could say, okay, because of financial circumstances in my life and my desire to protect my family, I decide I'm going to kill myself, and therefore have the insurance company pay a lot of money, and the insurance company doesn't want to take that kind of a risk.
Yep. Okay. It makes sense, but
it's not just the fact the insurance companies don't want to pay because they want to make money. Of course they do.
Yeah.
Most people are that way when it comes to employment. But it's based on the terms of the contract and what you agree to.
All right, moving on. We had another story this morning. A man down in Pawtucket has been arrested. He's facing drug trafficking charges when he was arrested yesterday. They went to his Mineral Spring Avenue apartment, and they found up to 900 individually packed bags of fentanyl.
Wow.
900.
Now, I wonder how much fentanyl is in an individually wrapped package.
Doesn't say. They also found another 286 grams of the drug and $47,000 in cash and a gun. They always mention how much cash is laying around the apartment when this takes place. And but that means you gotta sit there or stand there, and take the drugs and put it in the bag and then tie it up and put it over here. 900 times.
Okay. Well, what I was wondering
that
is
must take weeks to do.
when President Trump was talking about the embargo of the tariffs against the nation of Canada, it was because of fentanyl coming across the border. And there was a report that said that last year the amount of fentanyl that appears to have come from Canada was about 42 pounds. So this guy may have had the entire Canadian import of fentanyl in his house, because 42 pounds is not a whole lot of anything.
Yeah, right. So 900 bags.
900 bags. Wow.
And he had more grams. He was going to make more bags, too. So we're going to take another break. This portion of Coffee has been sponsored by the Blackstone Valley Call and Times.
Whether you own a restaurant or an auto repair shop, you need as many customers as you can get. Every business does. Don't limit yourself to one newspaper. Get the power of 2 daily newspapers for the price of 1. The Blackstone Valley's Call and Times deliver customers from all over the valley with just one phone call. Phone 767-8500 for twice the effectiveness over twice the area. The Call and the Times. A winter weather advisory has been called by the National Weather Service for snow, possibly mixed with sleet during the day today, and in the afternoon mixing in with freezing rain likely. 32 degrees for a high temperature today, with mostly calm winds, about 10 miles per hour from the southeast late in the day. Chance of precipitation 100% all day. Total daytime snow and sleet accumulation of 2 to 4 inches possible. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies, overnight low of 28 degrees. Friday's weather, mostly sunny with a high of 39 and a breeze from the west. Saturday, mostly sunny and 34. Saturday night, another storm coming in. Snow could be heavy at times. Accumulations overnight on Saturday night looking to be somewhere between 4 and 8 inches possible. Once again, that's Saturday night. Sunday, snow and sleet in the early part of the day, switching over and ending as snow late in the day, high of 34. Monday, mostly sunny with a high of 32. Tuesday, a 40% chance of some snow, mostly cloudy and 34. Tuesday night, 70% chance of more snow, mostly cloudy and 21. And on Wednesday, snow should be ending during the day, becoming partly sunny with a high of 34 degrees.
And outside the Navigate Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Ave and Kennedy Street, we've got clouds, it's snowing, and we have 24 degrees. Weather report brought to you by the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
Here's our tip for having more fun this winter. Ski, smile, repeat. Ski, smile, repeat.
Repeat.
Ski, smile, repeat. Check out our 3-day learn-to packages.
You always save when you buy online. Go to whatchoose.com.
Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse offers authentic homemade Polish food to make your next meal special. Try our many varieties of hot and fresh pierogies with onions and what they call dirty sour cream. Or pick up golubki, kielbasa, babkas, or some fresh rye bread. We also offer a large selection of specialty and imported foods. Open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 9 in the morning till 6 p.m., Wednesdays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays from 8 to 5 p.m. It's Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse. Follow us on Facebook and learn about our weekly specials. Located at 855 Social Street, Woonsocket, Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse has all the authentic Polish foods you love.
Hi, I'm Greg Bell, the host of Win Radio Was.
I'm Mortimer. Bill. Is that you under that blindfold?
Bill, with this thing on, I can't see who I am.
No, I imagine not. Can't you see anything at all under that blindfold?
On a clear day, I can see the blindfold.
You can?
Yeah.
Win Radio Was. Shows from the past for today's imaginations.
Win Radio Was airs Monday through Friday right here on ON 1240 Radio at 11 a.m. and 11 p.m.
It's Coffee and on ON Radio. This is Joe Callahan here with Dave Richards and Bob Lauder. And Bob, time for a first message from your law office, please.
Thank you. Good morning. This is Attorney Bob Lauder. I'd like to return this morning to a discussion of recent cases heard before the Rhode Island Supreme Court. The first case is that of the Providence Retired Police and Firefighters Association versus the City of Providence, and it was decided just 2 days ago. The association had entered into a municipal employees retirement system agreement, which did not include some of the benefits granted to municipal employees under that section of the state law entitled Cancer Benefits for Firefighters. Thereafter, the association entered into litigation against the city of Providence, alleging that even though it had entered into the said agreement, its members were also entitled to the additional protections granted to municipal employees pursuant to the provisions of the said state law. While the Superior Court agreed with the association, the Supreme Court vacated the decision of the lower court. The Supreme Court ruled that the Municipal Employees Retirement System was established by a special legislative act, and that in general, special legislative acts will prevail over state statutes in general application. The members of the association were not entitled to the protections granted under the Rhode Island general laws. If you think my office may be assistance to you in legal matters, please call me for an appointment. My name is Bob Lauder. My telephone number is 762-4550. In the disclaimer, the Supreme Court of Rhode Island licenses all attorneys in the general practice of law. The court does not license or certify any attorney as an expert or specialist in any field of practice. Thank you.
All right, Bob, thanks. And it's time to draw for
Milk
a
Fun
Milk
calendar
Fun
raffle.
Calendar. They were getting a Target gift card. That's the winner. How much?
$25 gift card to the Target store, or Target, as many say. And it's got the
dog.
friendly, almost appearing like it's smiling dog. With the and I wouldn't be smiling if I was a dog and somebody gave me a red eye like that with a circle around it. But anyway,
It looks pretty cute, man.
Yeah, $25 gift card to Target. Now, a lot of people bought their Milk Fun calendars, and let's have Bob reach in there and grab them, right?
Whoa,
Thank you. Just one, Bob.
Here's the
Just
box.
one.
It's got all the different stubs from
And
all the different
you mixed
calendars.
them all
I'll hold
up
it up
very
above
well?
eye level there for
Okay,
you.
let's see who.
And just reach in and pull out one. And one is, you want to read it?
Let me see.
Yeah, let's see what
It says Nancy LaPont, who lives in Cumberland, Rhode Island, and it gives her email address and her telephone number.
Yes, which means
Very
that I'll be
good.
calling and or communicating with her. Shoot, Nancy LaPointe of Cumberland.
Congratulations, Nancy.
Congratulations. You've got a $25 Target gift card for buying and supporting our Milk Fund and buying a calendar. Thanks so very, very much. Now, I think
You have a
that
whole lot
Lisa
of
will be back
remaining
tomorrow.
stubs in this box.
Oh, yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. Plus, Nancy's will go back in after she picks up her prize. Nancy's stub will go back in there for another drawing.
So she can
Possibly.
keep on winning, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's possible. I mean, the odds are somebody else is going to get picked out. But it's happened before in the Autumn Fest calendar drawing
Oh,
that
sure.
somebody actually it gets picked up again, especially if they have multiple calendars purchased and multiple stubs in the bag.
How long does the contest go on?
Till the 28th of February when it changes months.
Oh, but you can still have the calendar drawings throughout the summer?
No,
Oh, no, no.
calendars are just
Just
for
for February.
February.
Oh, okay. All right.
You
Sorry.
see, there's your calendar right there that you buy.
Oh,
It's actually a facsimile. So that's not an official calendar. That's a facsimile that we use. And like that. And by the way, may I borrow your pen and cross
Sure.
off the 6th over here?
yes.
Thank you very much. So we can keep track on what we've given away and what we haven't. Nancy LaPointe, I'll be giving you a phone call shortly.
All right, thanks, Dave. All right, Bob, I don't want to wish you any bad luck, of course. But
Oh, right. Okay. What's this?
Well,
What's this? Football
an-
question.
No. An attorney was found dead in Charlestown, Mass.
What do you call that? Murder?
In the harbor.
Suicide or a good start?
Multiple stab wounds.
Oh, wow.
Police have identified the victim.
It wasn't suicide. then.
No, 65-year-old Joseph Donahue, and says his death has been ruled a homicide. So, and then police arrested a 24-year-old Nora Nelson, who was at the scene as a person of interest. She's being held on unrelated charges. Her bail is set at $7,500. Seems pretty low for a
Bail
murder.
is just to make sure that you show up for your next hearings and things like that. And it's based on several calculations by the judge. One is the likelihood of you're going to be a danger to the community at large should be allowed to remain free until the time of trial. And the other is, of course, whether or not you're going to show up at the time of trial.
See, I watch Law and Order too much, and
Okay.
bail is always $500,000, $750,000, or $1 million.
That's
For
You have a
everybody.
choice?
No.
You don't have a
No.
choice?
The script says 50.
Pick your
I mean,
bail from the
500,
revolving drum.
750 or $1 million.
It's pretty high.
I know. Well, it's New York usually. So, okay, Dave, you got the Super Bowl trademarks?
Oh, yeah.
Stories about that? What's up with this?
This is a
here?
panel participation question. I'm
Oh,
going to ask
cool.
questions.
Okay.
And you, Bob and Joe, see, because what we have here, it's a story about the Super Bowl. It has to do with a sporting event. So Joe would be writing a tune on that. And it has to do with legalities, which Bob would be having some expertise in. And it's basically a true or false set of questions. Are you ready? Now, everybody knows, this is the setup. Everybody knows that the term Super Bowl is trademarked by the NFL, and they aggressively protect their rights for the trademark logos and copyrights for Super Bowl. I'm going to give you some other phrases. You tell me whether or not they are trademarked or not, or can you use them?
Okay.
All right.
In general, or the trademark by the NFL?
No, this has to do with football.
Okay.
Yeah. The term touchdown. Joe, trademarked or not?
I'm going to say no.
Bob?
I would agree with Joe. I don't think that's been trademarked.
You're both correct. Touchdown has not been trademarked by the NFL. 1st and 10.
No.
I would
also not trademarked.
I would agree with Joe on that. I would think that that's a phrase that's been used in football for a long time. And to have a trademark, usually you have to have something that is identifiable with your particular business or your particular activity.
Your reasoning is sound, but you're both wrong. 1st and 10 is a trademark
of the
NFL.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Did they develop the use of that phrase?
Well, yeah, because no other sport needs to use it. It doesn't make sense in any other
And the
sport.
NFL is the NFL.
Wouldn't it be used in high school sports?
Could
Wouldn't
be,
that have-
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
But it's basically used by announcers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
whatever.
Okay.
But 1st and 10 is a trademark. They own it. Next term, the big game.
No, that is not trademarked.
Well, if 1st and 10 was trademarked, I guess the big game could be trademarked as well. Although it doesn't seem logical, but I'll go with yes, it has.
I see a split decision by the panelists. One of you is correct, one of you is wrong.
Well, that's going to be right. Okay. Tell us, Joe, who's right.
The big game is not trademarked by
golly.
the NFL. See, Joe knows this because he has to deal with it when he writes commercials and stuff for people. So that's one of the whitelisted phrases that you can talk
use.
about. Right.
Okay.
Okay. Superb owl.
I haven't even heard of that.
Superb owl?
Yes.
I haven't even
Visualize
heard
the two words. You've only taken the space between super and bowl and moved it over to the other side in the second word, and superb owl.
I would think yes, that's
Is the
probably
term.
been
I'm
trademarked.
going to say no. Because I haven't heard it been used before.
They do not own the
All right,
trademark
maybe
for
it's a
superb
superb
owl.
Okay, but you're talking just about the NFL.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's the folks who own the Super Bowl.
Okay, but if I were running a pet shop, I might have trademarked superb owl. All right. Okay.
Well,
all right.
It's they're just curiosities, and
All right.
this is why you can't. If you have an advertisement on the radio or the television, you can't say
Come down,
Super Bowl,
watch the Super
you know,
Bowl.
that sort of thing like that. Now, as
So-
with
so far
all
we're going.
trademarks, and you were going to say
This
something,
is
Joe?
this
Well,
is
yeah.
legal questions, and so far Joe is 2 ahead of me.
But
This is and oh golly, I'm
But
just going to give up.
But
I'm going to go home.
I walked into an establishment yesterday, and they had like a sandwich board, kind of down on the floor. That was like a blackboard, and they wrote on it, "Come watch the big game here."
Yeah.
And then they had the Kansas City Chiefs logo that someone had drawn freehand,
Right.
and it was just the arrowhead with the K and the C in it. And on the other side, someone had drawn the profile of an eagle. And, so come watch the big game here. If not, you pick up your snacks ahead of time. Obviously, I'm at a restaurant. Now, couldn't they put that on the blackboard that say, "Come watch the Super Bowl here," or would that be incorrect?
That would be incorrect. That would be a violation of the NFL's trademarks. which would add insult to injury because they've already violated the trademarks of the two participant teams,
yeah.
which are all
Yeah.
already freestanding corporations with trademarks and logos. So they broke the law only twice instead of three times, though. I'll tell you something else that's kind of interesting. And I constantly, you're always talking to me, let's use some common sense here, folks, because that's a big thing on me, because in an automated society where things are black and white, you need gray area, and you need somebody to exercise some judgment, in my opinion. And so what I see here is there's aggressive protection, but there's also restraint. For instance, the Rhode Island Interscholastic League championships in each of their divisional play. For the state championship, they call it the Super Bowl.
Mass does too.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but the NFL doesn't give them any heartburn over it.
No.
Because obviously they're not taking anything away from the NFL, and perhaps they're even using the
Promoting
term
it,
to
yeah.
generate interest in the game of football, which will inure to their advantage at the NFL down the road when these youngsters get older.
That makes sense.
Okay.
So there's some common sense there. They're not going to go after him. On the other hand, I belong to a trade group, which, as a means of friendly teasing, this group gives one of its members an award every year for the member who's done the stupidest thing. It's a trade group, so it has to do with broadcasters who have done the stupidest thing, as adjudged by the attendees at the convention. And they always used to call it the Mickey Mouse Award until Disney got a rash over it.
Did they?
Yeah. It is now called the Rodent Award.
I like that a little better. Really, Disney
By
sent
the
you a
way,
cease and
And
desist?
nobody is going to ask who has been a personal recipient of
Oh,
this.
I on my very first convention, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to be honest with the other members at the convention, and I freely talked about something that I thought was a good idea. Turned out to be a very bad idea. And I won the award on my very first convention back in 2010.
Jeez.
So Disney sent a cease and desist order? Oh, they have lawyers.
A phone call was gotten, and it was intimated.
Wow.
Don't make us do this.
All right, we'll stop. Cool. All right, Bob, it's time for a second message, please. And then we'll close off this segment of the Coffee and program
Thank
from
you.
your law office.
Good morning. This is Attorney Bob Lauder. The second case I'd like to discuss with you this morning attracted my attention due to its title, but then went on to result in a ruling which lawyers, who rely on the payment of their fees, may find comforting. The case is entitled King versus Naiad Inflatables of Newport, Inc., and it was decided 15 years ago. The defendant, Inflatables of Newport, was engaged in the business of constructing and selling rigid hull inflatable boats. It became involved in litigation and hired a law firm to defend it in court. The terms of employment were confirmed in a written agreement, and there came a time when Inflatables was seriously behind in making payments to the law firm. At one point, it owed the firm almost $50,000. Trial on the original litigation was approaching in February of 2009, and in January of 2009, about a month before the trial date, the law firm filed a motion in the court seeking to be permitted to withdraw as counsel for Inflatable. In February, approximately 2 weeks before the trial date, the motion to withdraw was heard before the Superior Court. The trial justice refused to grant the motion and wrote that to grant the motion would have materially have an material adverse effect and basically leave Inflatable without legal representation. The law firm filed an appeal to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court disagreed with the trial justice. While acknowledging the trial justice's concern in maintaining the integrity of the trial calendar, the justice did not adequately weigh the financial burden to befall the law firm if the firm was required to continue to represent the non-paying client. That burden was not only the nearly $50,000 owed for prior services, but the additional fees which would be incurred during the course of the trial. The Supreme Court ruled that the law firm was entitled to a withdrawal of counsel, and that the trial justice had placed too much emphasis on maintaining the integrity of the trial calendar, had overstated the adverse impact on the clients, and did not adequately consider the unreasonable financial burden which would befall the law firm. In summary, lawyers are entitled to get paid. If you think my office may be of assistance to you in legal matters, please call me for an appointment. My name is Bob Lauder, and my telephone number is 762-4550. And the disclaimer: the Supreme Court of Rhode Island licenses all attorneys in the general practice of law. The court does not license or certify any attorney as an expert or specialist in any field of practice.
You bring
Thank you.
up a good point, by the way. And of course, I don't think anybody feels that you should work for nothing. But there are those in your profession that charge outrageous rates. And some who are like you, who charge reasonable rates. You have obligations to take care of, and you divide your obligations by the number of people you can help, and that's what your rate is.
Well, go back to what we were talking about with the insurance contract. You have the opportunity to hire an attorney for whatever you want. If you agree ahead of time that, yes, I'm going to pay you this particular sum of money because you think either the attorney has a particularly good reputation or is particularly skilled in this area, then that's your choice. And whether it seems to be outrageous to you is to the general public is whether or not it's outrageous to you as the client. And if you think hiring the guy for a whole lot of money isn't that bad, that's wonderful. I've seen articles about lawyers out in California or in particular cases who get what I would think would be amazing fees.
Mm-hmm.
But the client
Living
thinks,
in California is much more expensive.
well, the client seems to think that that's equitable and goes ahead with it.
All right, break time once again here on Coffee and, but more coming up. Stick around.
Guiding and assisting a family as they honor and celebrate the life of someone they love is our mission at Menard Locouture Funeral Homes. From personalized memorial cards, video tributes, to individual requests, such as the presence of sporting gear or even a motorcycle in front of the funeral home, we are able to walk with you as you make decisions at a difficult time. As you plan a loving remembrance for one close to you, Menard Locouture Funeral Home will be there for you.
Febreze. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust Febreze car vent clips, featuring 3 distinct intensity settings, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing. Which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up Oscar!
When it comes to sending last-minute Valentine's Day gifts, nobody delivers like Target Circle 360. Get the perfect surprise delivered right to their door with Target Circle 360's unlimited same-day delivery on orders over $35. Start with a dozen red roses, then choose from our delicious assortment of favorite day candy and more. Crush your Valentine's Day celebration by sending something to everyone on your list. Only at Target. Restrictions apply.
Northern Rhode Island Council of the Arts is celebrating 30 years of Mardi Gras. The coronation of the Queen is February 23rd and includes an Italian buffet. Tickets $20. The Mardi Gras Ball is March 1st, includes a Creole Cajun buffet, and will feature the Squeeze Box Stompers. Tickets $35. Tickets can be purchased from any Queen contestant or at Missy's Family Restaurant, Cello's, Timeless Antiques, Pine Swamp Place, Belo's Flowers, The Honey Shop, Creative Impressions, Vos True Value Hardware, or call 401-486-9380 or 401-257-5797.
It's Coffee In on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us. Joe Callahan here with Bob Lauder and Dave Richards. Bob, what do you think of this little story right over here? Do they have a case? Do they not have a case? Lexington, Massachusetts couple is suing the Boy Scouts of America. Okay?
Why?
Over their 11-year-old son's death on a camping trip.
Ugh.
The parents of Keone Hubbard says his death in a boating crash on a New Hampshire lake was the result of negligence. They claim children were placed on the boat that was driven by an 18-year-old operator who had been licensed for just 10 days and had limited training. In addition to damages, the lawsuit also seeks to force the Boy Scouts to start a water safety program. That's all I got for information, so I don't know how much more
I
you
would
need.
imagine, well, you'd have to go into the details as to what was the course that the 18-year-old took? How did that? What were the parameters of it? What did he actually learn? And was that course sufficient to permit him to, or anybody else to be operating the boat under those circumstances?
But in practicality, when something bad like this happens, everybody's going to get sued that has. And I mean, gosh, I mean, it's an aggregate attack on anybody who could possibly have had anything to do with it.
It's a Boy Scout camp, so that's who we're going after.
Well, you have a child that's dead. You have parents who are grieving. The parents are saying, what happened that resulted in my child's death? Was there some kind of negligence on the part of anybody involved? Was there negligence on the part of the Boy Scouts because they didn't have the operator of the boat fully trained to operate this kind of a vessel under these circumstances? And if they didn't, then if they had the proper training, it's highly likely that my son wouldn't have died. So we go back to the negligence factor. And what is the type of compensation I should receive as a grieving parent for a child who's died because you, as the operator of the boat, you, as the person who employed the operator of the boat, didn't secure the kind of protections that my child was entitled to receive? Yeah.
All right.
It's not just we go out and sue everybody
Yeah.
because the incident took place. We look as to what was the circumstances.
Okay. At the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, a dozen cadet clubs have been told to immediately, quote, cease all activities.
I heard that.
The groups, which center on gender, race, and ethnicity, were told to immediately disband in a memo on Tuesday, and also can't continue informal activities using government time or resources. So this impacts clubs such as the Society of Women Engineers and the National Society of Black Engineers Club, meant to comply with President Trump's crackdown on DEI programs federally. So
I don't know what those
West Point.
I don't know what those particular clubs may or may not have actually been doing. It may have been had nothing to do with the training at West Point. It may have been more along the lines of trying to make members of the club feel that they were incorporated into the overall makeup of the nation. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if those clubs restricted people who were not members of the ethnicity that the club entitled to be a member of it.
Well, I'm sure there were no men in the Women's Engineers Club.
There could have been. I don't know. But if
I would say no.
But if the Women's Engineers Club had a restriction and said, okay, we're not going to have any men as members of the club or any way they participate, then I think that would have been severely detrimental and the club should not necessarily have been in existence. But if they had no such restrictions, and if you had said, I want to join, hey, it's a great opportunity to meet girls, then, what is the basis other than the name that you're closing this club down? I don't know.
Okay. Dave?
On another subject, I'm wondering what both of you feel about this headline that I'm getting in one of my trade association papers this morning. It says the FCC is opening an investigation into a radio company whose radio stations were broadcasting live locations of undercover ICE agents. Obviously, they were radio stations that terribly disagreed with policies from the federal government.
So they were saying ICE agents are meeting here, or this is where they're going to go, this is where they're doing raids.
Broadcasting over their radio stations the live locations of undercover ICE agents.
Well, you get your First Amendment rights of freedom of speech.
And I don't know who establishes or how undercover is actually established as a legal entity. The fact that we have this, we're sending agents out who are going to be working out of Joe's barbershop, and we're not telling anybody that they're there. It's where they're going to be located so that they can get information and then go out and collect, take people into custody. I don't understand how Joe's barbershop and that information would be somehow secret that should not be published. I don't know. I think back to, in World War II, I think it was the Chicago Tribune published by accident information about the D-Day invasion, and I don't think they were ever prosecuted for making that publication, even though that particular event would have been a military secret at the time.
Well, okay, it is not the same sort of thing. I know you're trying to make some comparisons, but newspapers don't have the same laws that radio stations do. And the story was that our government regulating body is looking into that type of action, that type of programming.
Would it be the same thing, Dave, as if we went on the air and said, hey, you really should slow down on Park Ave because the Woonsocket Police have a speed trap at this corner?
Well, it's closer than other examples you might use, but this is serious. If you're taking an undercover federal officer doing their job and you're ratting them out on the public airwaves, you've got a responsibility for that federal officer's health and well-being, in my opinion. I mean, you'd never catch us doing that stuff.
Well, right.
But there are some stations that aren't thinking the same way.
I think I'd have to be more advised as to what the FCC rules are with regard to broadcasting information. Because
Ask me, I'll tell you. I live with it every day.
Okay.
Oh, we don't have time to go into it now. We've run out of time.
Oh, gee whiz.
So, it's after 9 o'clock. So, Bob Lauder, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you for inviting me. Hope to be with you next week.
All right. And Dave, thanks for being here as well.
Guarantee the subject will not be followed up on the Do You Remember program with Gary and the crew coming up.
That's at 9:30, and we hope Sue can join us next week here on the Coffee Amp program. Enjoy the snow today, everyone.
Broadcasting live and local daily from the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street. This is WOON Woonsocket Radio. And now, the news. The Speaker of the Rhode Island House of Representatives, Joseph Sicarci, says the drunk driving arrest of Providence Representative Enrique Sanchez over the weekend is a, quote, serious charge. As to whether Sanchez